water digital pH kit. The digital one is very essential and very good for aquaculture, and based on the potential hydrogen and alkalinity of our water. We all know how effective and disadvantage and advantageous this the pH of our water is. Very important to most of breeders in Nigeria, in Africa as a whole. So pH kit is an essential commodity that has an accuracy of -1 and +1 depending on the pH calibrated kit. So this is a pH meter. If anyone of you should get any of this pH kit, it is very good for you to understand the calibration. Most people are having problem based on calibrating their kit. Most especially, if I should ask most people, they will just have bought the pH kit and started using it before the normal calibrating. Or if you do know the calibrations, you may be making mistakes on the calibration. So today I'll be taking you through how to make a perfect calibration on your pH digital kit. So this is how it goes. It's somehow difficult to get a well perforated distilled water. You need a distilled water, but in here I'll be using an Eva water of 250 ml. So I will have to, this is an Eva water I'm using as a distilled water. And before I go, there's a difference between the saline solution and the distilled water. The saline solution, distilled water is free from calcium, is free from iron, and is free from iron, from calcium, and from salt. But the saline solution is made with sodium chloride and salt. So there's a difference between this. This is free from any minerals at all. This, you can process a distilled water yourself by heat. When you once you boil the water, the heat that come from the boiling water this is what you can process a distilled water with that. So for my next video, I will show you how to process a distilled water. So what we needed is that we need 250 ml of distilled water in order to calibrate our kit. So this is 250. So I'll be pouring it here. And again 250. I'll be pouring it here. And again 250. I'll be pouring it here. Yeah. The most important thing is that after you want to release your 250 ml, you have to work on your a digital calibrated kit. Normally comes with either 2 or 3 buffers powders. They normally come with 2 or 3 buffers powders. So the buffer powders are calibrated based on the percentage of calibration. So I'll be calibrating this with this, I'll be calibrating this on this, and I'll be calibrating this with this. So it is very important for you guys to understand something about this calibration. What you should understand here is that you should not make any mistakes. So by the time you are cutting the lead of the calibrations, you should not make any mistakes at all. So the first one to calibrate is your 6. You calibrate your 6.8. The second one to calibrate is your 4.0, and the last one to calibrate is your 9.1. So I will take you through the process of the calibration as we go. Yeah, so in case you miscalibrated the process, there are a lot of calibrators that comes that if you need any of these, you can as well contact us and we send it to you. Order for yours and we send it to you. These are the calibrating provers for most of us that have problem with our calibration, or maybe we have misplaced our calibrators, the buffers calibrator, the powder for calibrators, or we have, and two, this pH digital kit, if you have not been using it for a longer period, maybe for 3 months, the digital calibrator kit will need another buffering after you might have buffer it. So you will need a buffer powder in order to buffer it. So the next thing to do is that these are the buffers here. So we need to cut off. You will need to cut off the edge of the buffers to mix perfectly in the water. So the first one is the 6.0. After cutting it, will be mixed with the water. So you make sure that it's perfectly mixed. So you get rid of the second one, and because of the buffering, make sure that the content of the water does not merge with the other ones. So it is very important for you to make sure that you don't merge it together. So now calibrating for the 4. This is the buffer for the 4. So this is the buffer for the 4. So you'll put it into a 2.5 ml of water, and the buffers for the 9.1. So this is the buffer for the 9.1. So this is the buffer for the 9.1. So after you might have put it into the water, you have to mix it very well, properly. It has to be well mixed. So this has to take a little time for it to get mixed. And another thing is that if you are doing the mixing, make sure that it's either you use another spoon for the mixing. Don't use the same spoon for the mixing. Or if you want to use the same spoon for the mixing, the perfect thing to do is for you to make sure that you wash your spoon inside an ordinary water. So you have to mix it thoroughly. So you mix that thoroughly, but because of that, I will not be using the same spoon. I will be using 3 sets of spoons to do my mixing. So I'll be using 3 sets of spoons. So you mix it thoroughly. Make sure that it's well mixed. Make sure that it's well mixed. So the next thing after the proper mixing of our calibrators, that means our buffers for calibrating, and make sure that you put the paper, that means the nylon, beside each of the bottles so that you won't forget the ones you put each of the buffers, the powders. So the next thing to do is to on the pH kit. So once the pH kit is on, you let it stable. So once you stable, you are the first one to calibrate is the 6.8. So putting it into the 6.8, so we need to press this calibration for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. So once it start blinking, you can see once it start blinking 6.6, 6.5. So I want to wash it out because it should be a positive and negative. I'm looking for an accurate buffing period now. So let me wash it off. Take it back again. 1, 2, 3. So it comes to 6.4. Yeah, it should be plus and negative. 6.5. It should be plus and negative. So the next one to calibrate is 4. We are calibrating for the 4. So we are calibrating for the 4. So the 4, we put it into the 4, the calibrations for the 4, and I press 1, 2, 3. I released it. So I press it again. So this comes to 4.01. As you can see, this one is accurate. So I wash it off again. So the next one to calibrate is our 9.1. So the 9.1 has to be calibrated now. So I let it stay. So by the time I put it to the 9.1, it goes into 8 points. So I press it three times. 1, 2, 3. So I release it. So immediately I released it, I press it once more, so it stops at 9.18. So I raise the calibrators. So this is being well calibrated, and it is perfect. So the next thing to do now is for me to test the accuracy of the water to know if it is well buffered or not. So I'm going to test with our first one, the 6 point. So once I put it into the 6.8, so let me off it. Let me on it back. So once I off and on back, I'll put into the 6.8. So you can see that is accurate. It gave me 6.86. So I'll have to wash it, on it, off it, and on it back. I'll put into the 4.0. This is the 4.0 is accurate. As it is accurate, I have to take it off. I wash it off. I off it. I on it back. So I will now go to the 9.1. The 9.1, I on it. By the time I on it, I put it back. It gives me 9.18. So what did this tell me? It tells me that my pH meter is now well calibrated and is perfect to use. So I will now want to calculate to test for the pH of this the water, the distilled water. So after I might have washed it here, I will have to on it. Once it's been on, I will let it stable. Once it's stable, I'll put it into here. So in here, this tells me I have a pH reading of still reading. This is 7.1. Wow. This is 7. Yeah, 6.8. This is 6.8. That means the water is a neutral water. The water is very, very good. So this is how to calibrate your pH kit. So this is how to do your calibration. For those of you that have any mistake in their calibrators, or have did not calibrate their pH kit, their pH, or maybe they have lost their buffer, make sure that you order for your own buffer now. We have a lot of buffers here that you can order for. So make sure that you order for yours now, and it will be sent to you anywhere you are in the country. So make sure that you do your normal calibrations and get a perfect desired result for your pH kit. pH kit is very, very good for aquaculture, most especially for those of us that are into fish breeding or fish hatchery. This is how to get our potential hydrogen of our water based on the acidity and the alkalinity of our water. So thank you so much. Make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure that you click on the notification button. Make sure that you share and like. Thank you so much. My name once again still remains DTM, your uncle, Catfish Solution Place and Academy, where I give in-depth information about catfish farming.